Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are diving into a huge question for pretty much any business out there. In a world that moves at the speed of light, how do you actually get ahead of the curve? The answer, well, it might surprise you. So let's jump right in.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. In today's economy, with everything changing so fast, what's the single biggest risk a company can possibly take? You might think it's a bad product launch, or maybe some PR nightmare, but what if it's something quieter?
It's this simple, and honestly, a little scary. The biggest risk is just falling behind. See, in our digital world, standing still isn't an option anymore. If you're standing still, you're actually going backward, while your competition is just flying by.
Which, leads us right into what you could call the modern business gauntlet. The pressure to constantly innovate, to keep your data safe, to serve your customers better. It's just relentless. And for a lot of businesses, trying to handle all that tech in-house has become this hidden and super expensive struggle.
When we think about in-house IT, we usually just think about salaries. But the real costs, the hidden ones, they go way deeper. It's the nonstop search for someone who actually knows cybersecurity or cloud tech. It's the thousands you spend on training that's outdated in a year. It's that endless cycle of buying new hardware, fixing it, upgrading it. But honestly, that last one on the list, that's the real killer. The strategic cost of being outplayed by a faster, smarter competitor.
And this really hits at the heart of the problem, right? When your team is spending all their time just putting out fires and patching systems, your tech department becomes a cost center. It's all reactive. It's not driving your business forward. It's just trying to keep the lights on.
So how do you flip that script? Well, you do it by making a really smart economic shift. This is all about taking that unpredictable money pit and turning it into a real strategic advantage. And let's start with the part that gets everyone's attention, the numbers. Just look at this. On average, businesses cut their IT costs by 25 to 45% when they partner up with a managed service provider, or an MSP. That is not a small chunk of change. For a lot of companies, that's a game-changing amount of cash you can pour right back into growing the business.
But wait, how did those savings even happen? Well, it's all about switching from one financial model to a totally different one. On the one hand, you've got the old in-house way, big, unpredictable capital spending. Think giant upfront checks for hardware and those lovely surprise repair bills. Your cash is literally tied up in boxes and wires. On the other hand, you have the MSP model, predictable operational spending. It's just a fixed monthly fee, easy to budget. And here's the best part. Your capital is now free to be spent on actual innovation.
Okay, saving money is huge, we get it. But this is about so much more than that. This is where it gets really exciting. This is about building an engine for innovation. Once you stop worrying about just keeping things running, you can start focusing on getting ahead.
So how do you get your new ideas out to the world faster? An MSP gives you a shortcut. First, you instantly get your hands on top-tier, enterprise-grade tools that you could never afford to buy outright. Second, you can scale up or down whenever you want. Got a big launch coming? Bam, more power. Quiet month? Scaled back. And third, you can use their expert teams to get your new projects off the ground in a fraction of the time.
And all of this? It adds up to a massive new competitive edge. All of a sudden, a small business has the same access to AI or cloud experts as some huge corporation. You can play around with new tech without betting the farm. But look at that third point. That's my favorite. It frees up your own team to do what they're actually good at, building your business. You're not just buying IT help, you're buying focus.
All right, let's pivot and talk about something that probably keeps you up at night, security. I mean, in a world of nonstop digital threats, trying to protect your business all by yourself is, well, it's pretty much impossible these days. Think of an MSP as your digital guardian.
The threat landscape out there is just brutal. We're talking about incredibly sophisticated cyber attacks, sometimes from nation-states. Then there's the spider web of compliance rules like GDPR or HIPAA, where one tiny mistake can cost you millions in fines. And of course, the insane cost of being knocked offline, not to mention what a data breach does to your reputation. It's a lot.
So what's the defense against all of that? Well, an MSP brings in the heavy artillery. This isn't just installing some antivirus software and calling it a day. No. This is 24/7 monitoring from a dedicated security operations center. This is AI that's hunting for threats before they can even strike. And crucially, it's having a rock-solid disaster recovery plan, so if the worst does happen, you're back up and running in no time. They handle the compliance headaches and even take on some of the risks themselves through their contracts. There's a quote from the source material that just nails this whole idea. It says this shift
shifts IT burdens off internal teams so leaders can focus on innovation, customers, and growth. That's it right there. It's about unlocking the talent you already have by getting rid of that constant nagging drag of IT firefighting.
Okay, so let's bring all this home. We've talked about the cost savings, the speed, the security. What does this all boil down to for your business right now?
Here it is, the bottom line. Managed IT isn't just some nice-to-have option anymore. The pace of change has made it an absolutely essential part of any real, modern growth strategy. This is about surviving, sure, but it's really about thriving.
And that just leaves one last question for you to really think about. Take a hard look at your own company, at how you do things today. Is your technology just another expense on a spreadsheet, a cost center? Or are you truly using it as a weapon, as a real driver for your growth? Because how you answer that question is going to define your future. Thanks for watching.